when I want something, I'll go look for it or I'll call and I'll get it that way. You don't need to call me and remind me of what you want me to get. Yeah, it's like you said, man, they're all looking for something. Well, yeah, I understand. I understand that it's a job, and they call people. It's just that those people who call me at 6 o'clock in the morning are like to string them. It's an attitude. As I said, all the great minds down through the centuries have said, man, this is attitudes. If you know your attitudes and you know where you're at on the playing field, but you have to know what it is you're thinking, feelingly about, generally most of the time, because what has your attention has your life. I mean, are you willing to give your life to an argument? You know, it's really easy. You can upset yourself anytime you want to think about it. You know, it's like the guy said, I asked him, well, how often do you think about that? Well, every day. For 35 years, every day. I mean, come on. Yeah, you know, if you think other people are being hard on you, that means because you're not being at all.
Yeah.
Come on, as you think you are. It says that right in the scripture, right? As you think you are. You do, you have, you be. If you can find a way, call me. If you find a way around that, give me a call. I'd like to hear that because there is no way around it. As you think you are, that's the story. And if you know what you're thinking, then you know what you are, and you know where you're going. You know what you're going to be doing. But if you're lost in thought, all that just goes away, and it's pot luck.
Yeah.
I mean, if you can't handle the monsters, don't sit and dream them up because they were all dreamed up. This is a dream, and you're told to dream the dream, but you can easily make it a nightmare if you get the wrong ideas to dwell on. So what are you dwelling on? See, that's what you want to check on. What am I dwelling on most of the time? What has my attention during the day? You say, well, when I'm at work, it's my work. But the attitude that you hold in mind, that's what you want to focus on. Because if it's a work, well, then you say you hate this, you hate that. That's all you're doing is you're just spreading hate to yourself. But if you're looking at everything as just temporary for your advancements, you see, you have to see your advancements before you make them. You know, and then I come in and telling you, and then you're so surprised. No, if you weren't looking for it, you ain't gonna get it. Just be aware of what you're thinking. I mean, and especially when you're sitting alone, you know, because it's a good idea, like to have a CD of one of these messages, and if your thinking starts going off into the negative, then just flip it on and listen to it for a few minutes, and I guarantee you it'll take it all away. You'll be wanting to hear more, and then you might just see. I got in the habit of if I was watching something on TV, and when the commercials come on, I flip on my cassette, and I'm listening to it. And if I get interested in that, then I just turn the TV off. Very simple. Very simple. You get caught and after a while you'll do that, and then you won't even do that. You just won't even watch it. But you see, that's the whole thing. Right now I'm in the state of mind where I want to enjoy the benefits of what I've been talking about. So I'm becoming a little less involved. But we'll do this.
Yeah. You said something. You said, every day I'm really beginning to appreciate the things that we talk about, and there's a name for it. And I know that your office has the name. His office is called Heaven. But that's where we go. When we begin thinking, people think that, of course, if they can get into the right relationship, if they can get healthy, if they can get enough money, that they'll be happy. Those things don't make you happy. You have to bring happiness to the party. So when you bring your happiness to the more money, to the relationship, to the health. When you bring happiness and joy to those relationships or to those items, then you're going to experience more of that. But for the person that's miserable and he or she gets more money, better health, even a loving relationship, the only thing they're going to do is spread that misery through that money, that health, that relationship.
Yep. As you think you are, you do, you be, you have. It's as simple as that. If you know what you're thinking, you know what you're doing. If you don't know what you're thinking, it's all a surprise. And I got a lot of surprises in my life, and a lot of them I didn't like. But and then I complained about it, and then all they did is you just get more of the same thing. And so finally, that's what it is. That's what it says. Blessed are the poor in spirit, because what they're going to do is they're going to say, "Hey, wait a minute. There's got to be a different answer than what I'm getting. I mean, maybe I'm not looking for the right answer." And when you start asking yourself questions, that's self-examination, and that's a good thing, because if you know what you're thinking and feeling, you know where you're going, what you're doing, what you're going to be. If you don't know what you're thinking, you don't know where you're going or what you're going to be doing. And so it's all a surprise, but you can plan it. You're given choose. That's planning, isn't it? If you're choosing.
Absolutely.
So, okay. So you're told choose this day. Well, are you choosing this day or are you just going along with what's going on? It's, you know, you don't need to tell me, but you know, and it's what you know. That's what you're experiencing. That's simple, isn't it?
It is. You said something early along that line. You said, when I wake up in the morning, I decide, I choose the type of day that I'm going to have, and it sets the mood or the tone for the rest of my day.
Yep, it does. Oh, things will happen,
Of
but
course.
if you're in a good mood, though, they kind of slide by
Yeah.
without too much, without too much bothersome.
Yeah.
But you see, the thing it is, what they do is they grab onto these things and they start thinking about it, and then they get more and more added to it, and you're told not to think on mischievous imaginings. And if it's not what you want, well, that's being mischievous imaginings. So don't do that. I mean, if you can just catch yourself doing that, that should be a clue that you got to say so. And you do have a valid say. And I don't know if you know what valid say means. It means that you get what you ask for. And you're told that you receive not because you ask not. Now that seems pretty simple to me. Start asking.
Yeah. Yeah. It's true. I've coached a lot of clients, and one of their biggest fears is asking for what it is that they want. Many of them because of upbringing, challenges that they've had in life. And many of them just think that it's wrong to ask for something for themselves. So, of course, they never receive. But then they say, well, but why don't I receive this? Why don't I have this? And simply, I said, because you haven't asked. I said, but the moment you begin to ask, you'll receive.
Yes, but you see, the thing of it is you are asking every moment of time.
True. True.
Do you know what you're asking for, though?
Absolutely.
That's what you want to know. Because if you know what you're asking for and you expect it, then you got it.
Yeah.
If you don't expect it, you got what you didn't want. And that you shouldn't have taken with you in the first place. That's it. That's it. It's as you think you are. I mean, I hate to cut it down to that being that sharp, but that's exactly what it is, isn't it?
It
As a man
is,
thinketh in his heart, his feeling nature. In other words, emotional. Emotion is a movement out from. See, what are you thinking about? It's a movement out from, and it'll find a voice to go with, because there are billions of people out there, and all of them are thinking the same thing. They want better, but they just don't know how to achieve it. Well, this is how you achieve better. As you think you are. Just think better. I mean, that's the simple. Hey, I can lead you on a lot of theological dramas and take you story after story, but It's the essence of it. I can't hand you the essence of it. That has to happen here because if you don't believe it, you won't do it.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's it. I mean, if you won't even think about it, well, then you're not going to do it. But what are you thinking about? That's what you're going to do. That's what you're going to be, and that's what you're going to have. And if it didn't taste good the first time, you probably wouldn't enjoy it the second time either. Just stop feeding the very things you don't want, because that's what you're doing. You see, thinking about it, that's feeding them, and they'll be back just like that those little cats that daughters started feeding. And next thing we knew, we had six of them. And no, but you see, we get carried away in things that are none of our business. You see, I was guilty of that. I was always thinking about what are they doing? What are you doing? Boy, what am I doing myself? That's what's important to you. Don't worry about what they're doing. If you know what you're doing, everything else is okay. If you don't know what you're doing, then you're wondering what they're doing. So you're minding somebody else's business, and that can backfire. And it usually does.
It does.
Oh, well, attitude, attitude, attitude. That's what Montaigne says. Just watch your attitude. And that's all you have to do. What is your attitude about this? About anything? What is your attitude about it? I mean, if you can sit still long enough to actually hear an answer, and you will be given an answer if you will sit still and be still, not just quiet, be still. And that's what you're told. Be still and know that I'm God. If you know that, the rest of it just falls into place because that's seeking the kingdom of God. I mean, that when it tells you, go in the closet, close the door, and when you're alone, speak to your Father which is in heaven. No, come on. If you can speak to your Father which is in heaven, then do it. Why not do it? You're always wondering why he doesn't answer you. He's answering you. You're just not listening, or you're too busy with something else. And if you've got something that it really is you think is more important than what we're telling you, be about it. Go do it. Get it over with, and then get back.
Absolutely.
We're still here.
You talked about being still, and I want to touch on this because a lot of people are confused what being still means. When you go into the silence, you can take a request into the silence, but you can't go into the silence and continuously have the mind chatter going on. You can't be in there, you saying, I'm listening for an answer, because many of you leave out of the silence and you say, well, God didn't speak. It wasn't that God didn't speak. You weren't listening, as Mr. Lindell stated. You got to silence when you're there to listen. Now, if you're going there just to sing a song to God, or you want to go in there to have some, type of visual, meditation or whatever it is that you want to do, that's fine. But if you're going there to listen, then leave your request at the altar and get silent and stop the mind chatter. Things are going to come. And then you're just going to have to, again, practice silencing the mind chatter. And then, again, you may have to do this repeatedly, but eventually the mind chatter is going to stop. So when he talks about being still, go in there with an expectation that Father is going to speak like young Samuel. And he says, speak, Lord, your servant is listening. Just get into that posture or mindset, as Mr. Lindell would call it, because many of us go in there and we're running our mouth in our mind. We're not moving our mouth, but in our mind, we're talking so much that we can't hear what it is the Spirit is saying.
Yeah, you're busy all the time. Actually, it's really a very simple thing, a very simple idea. As you think you are. That sounds to me super simple, but it's your life.
Yeah.
You see, you have the opportunity to direct your life. That's all you're here to do, is to direct your life. Choose your life. That's what you're here to do. If you're doing that, it's probably wonderful.
Absolutely.
But if you're not, that's the nightmarishness we talk about. You see, you're supposed to dream the dream, but it didn't say anything about having a nightmare. But that is what most people do have is nightmares. Either there or they don't sleep at all or very little. But you see, you can't go to bed with all worries.
Yeah.
If you do, even if you do sleep, it won't be a restful sleep. And that's what most people are actually depriving themselves of the sleep that is needed to keep the mind in order. Because if you don't get enough sleep, you just fall on your face somewhere.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the way it works. Attitude, attitude, attitude. Just think, what is your attitude about anything you're thinking about? See, because if you don't consider that, then it'll keep coming back, and you want to be rid of it completely. Any nonsense, you want to be rid of it, and you can be if you don't start getting involved in it when it pops up. You get rid of it immediately. You don't need an excuse. You don't need a justification. Just get rid of it because it's not serving you. If something's not serving you, get rid of it. You can save the space in there for something else. I tell you, I must have been just about full because man, it took a long time to get rid of it. But you see, you have to understand if you're going about this lazy mindedness and double mindedness, it's going to take you a long time to do it. That's what it took me, a long time to do because I was practicing both. But you don't need to if you're aware that what you're say is a valid say and what you're saying is what you're going to be experiencing. That seems simple enough to me, doesn't it to you?
Absolutely. Makers of themselves. It goes back to makers of themselves. You gave an analogy earlier, and I want to touch back on it because I loved it. And I think that it's going to bypass a lot of people. But you said that your daughter started feeding cats. And what happened was when you started feeding the cats, more cats came. Jesus says when you sweep a house clean, be mindful of what it is that you're giving your attention to. So he says, not only will you bring, he called them evil spirits, but really they're negative thoughts. Not only will you bring the old negative thoughts, they'll bring friends. So Mr. Lindell's daughter was feeding the one cat, and the one cat told friends, and it came with multiple of cats. And you got to see your thoughts like cats. And when you start feeding those cats, they're going to multiply, and then they're going to give birth to more cats, and then it's going to be like this rabbit scenario. And so you have to determine, okay, I'm not going to feed that cat or that energy, because if I feed that energy, it's going to multiply. It can't not multiply. So just be mindful of the cats that you're feeding.
Yeah. Whatever the idea is that you're feeding,
Yeah,
make sure you chose it, that it
absolutely.
wasn't chosen for you.
Absolutely.
Because look, the whole vast world is hungry to know, but they don't know what it is they're hungry to know. And that only takes a moment to sit down and really feel what it is you are thinking about, because that's what you're going to be experiencing. And God's no favoritism at all. What you think about, that's what you're going to be experiencing. So beware of what you're thinking about, because you're going to be experiencing it. That's as simple as that. I mean, as you think you are. I mean, if you can get around that one, like I said, I'd like to hear from you. I don't know. I don't know why people don't see that. It's so simple. I know, but then again, I didn't see it either.
Yeah.
And as a matter of fact, I even lost it a lot of times.
Yeah.
All I had to do was get upset about something and it went out the window. But you got to get it back quick. But you see, that's the only difference between us is that I get back a little quicker than the average guy because I've been doing it for so long. But it needn't take a long time. It took me a long time because, like I said, lazy mindedness, double mindedness, and always worried about something or another, or dreaming some monster I couldn't handle. And then you go running to God, help me, help me, help me. Well, help yourself. He gave you choose a better solution because that's what you're doing. You're dreaming up solutions or you're dreaming up problems. It's as simple as that. All we're telling you is just think about it. That's all you have to do. Just think about it. If you think about it long enough, you'll begin to see the light that we're trying to show on you because you are the light of the world. We just got to get you to lighten up. And that's what you got to do, lighten up.
Yeah. And I use the cat analogy, and I know there's some cat lovers out there. So I want to say this, the cats can be both positive and negative. If the cats are something that you desire, then you keep feeding them and you keep feeding them and they grow. But if it's not something that you desire, then of course you feed those particular stray cats less. So basically it goes back to what Mr. Lindell often says, as you think, you are, you do, you be, you have.
It is that simple. I mean, you don't have to take my word for it. We don't have anything to join or belong to. You know, Mr. DeCarlo does. I don't. No, I bowed out of that a little ways back. I mean, I was promising my wife every 5 years for 40 years. The next 5 years, that'll be it. And finally she said, now.
Now's the appointed time and appointed hour.
Well, look, I can't complain. All she wants is just me.
Yeah.
I mean, wow.
Yeah.
I don't even want me that bad. Well, all you have to do is just see what your general attitude is, because your world is coming through you. It is not coming to you. Because if you're judging by appearances, you think it's coming to you. But you set it in motion long before you had any evidence of it. So what are you putting in motion right now? Is it lovely and a good report? Wonderful. If it isn't, drop it. And actually, it is that simple, isn't it?
It is that simple. And I've talked to so many people who have verified it and proved it. So it's not just us talking. People are living out these principles and they're experiencing the benefits of living out as you think you are. And like I said, we didn't come up with anything new. This stuff has been out there for literally thousands of years. Only thing we're doing is giving what's been given to us.
Yeah, I get that all the time. Well, that's not new. I never said any of it was new. Because I should, believe me, if it was left to me, I would have never found anything. Really, because I was busy being upset about what everybody else was doing. You see, and that's called in scripture self-denial. You see, the only one denying you is you. I mean, that's it, really, because if someone else is denying you, it really shouldn't even matter to you. What are you thinking about you? That's the important, not what they're doing. What are you doing? What are you thinking? How are you feeling? That's your life, not what they're doing. Really. And if you make what they're doing, then you just lost your life. You just gave it away.
Yeah.
And God's very jealous about you giving his power away, because that's the power you're operating. He told you that you're operating the power, not a power, not a little power. You're operating the power. So the thing of it is that how imaginative are you?
Yeah.
See, some people tell me, well, I don't have any imagination. Well, you're here. And you couldn't have got here. You didn't have any imagination. You couldn't have got here. So you have imagination. You just not really using it properly, probably.
Yeah.
And I say probably because there's times when you do and there's times when you don't. But it's those times when you don't that messes it all up.
It's true.
Look, you're in charge. Stand up and take charge. Even if you're out of charge, you're still in control. You understand? In other words, if your thinking's out of control, that doesn't stop the play.
Yeah.
Play goes on all the time. I mean, you're in it. You're doing it. I mean, you can decide what you do, But if you're not deciding, I guarantee you, they're standing in the wings waiting to decide for you,
Yeah.
and they
Absolutely.
will.
Absolutely.
You'll complain about that, and then you'll have more of that to complain about.
Yeah.
See, it's just like take care of it now. Now's the only time there is, anyway, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Or if you don't do it now, you'll never do it because you have to do it in the now because it is now. People look at me and go, I did that an awful lot myself. But but the thing of it is, it's the explaining to them. You're also explaining to self.
Absolutely.
You see, so when you give it, you get a reward. You because you heard it again. Every time I give it, I hear it again. And every time you give it, you'll hear it again. And it says, as you give, you receive. So if you're giving dirty looks, you're going to get dirty looks back. Oh, I tell you, I just wish people would just get in the mood.
Yeah.
And that's all it is. You have to be in the mood. You have to choose the mood you're in. Because if you don't choose it, anything that's going on around you will choose it for you. There you are. You either choose it or you lose it
Yeah.
to somebody else's choice. And as you're impressed, you do express. So if you're impressed with somebody's attitude and it's not a good attitude, then you'll be doing the same thing.
It's true.
And you'll be experiencing the same thing. And you'll be complaining about it. And you get more to complain about. Understand this is an ongoing drama. There's no place to stop. You can't stop. Even if you're asleep, you're still not.
It's
But
true.
the brain's still awake. I
Absolutely.
mean, it's doing all the functions, and thank God it does, because if I had to instruct it, nothing would have happened. So I'm glad he put all that on automatic. As a matter of fact, it is all on automatic. He tells you that if you do this and this, then you have all the rewards.
Absolutely.
But if you don't do this and this, good luck.
So, as we're winding down, what would you say to the listeners, makers of themselves? What would you say to the listener?
Choose.
Hmm.
You're makers of yourself. Choose better. That's all. And you choose it by thinking better. And that's all there is to it, isn't it?
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
if you can do that, and I know you can do, look, how can you be blamed for doing it wrong unless you could have done it right? I mean, right there, that would be your defense. But you see, you don't need a defense. You only need to think about what you're thinking about and understand it so that you'll know what you're doing, where you're going, why you're doing it. And if you know that, well, then that's a happy life.
Yeah.
But if you don't know what you're doing and everything is a surprise, oh, look out. Chaos is on the word. It's on there. It's working constantly. Chaos. Yes. I remember that. No, that's something else.
Well, sir, like always, been a pleasure.
Yes, it is. It is. It is. I love doing it because I know how glad I was when I finally I was looking at people suspiciously who were telling me what I'm telling them now. And I was looking at them with suspicion. But you see, if you really think about what's being said, we're not that aware we can accept something immediately.
Yeah.
So and not being able to accept it immediately, we start wondering, well, what happened? Where was it at? Where's it at? See,
Yeah.
and it's with you. Just shut up and be quiet and listen to what's being said to you because it is being told to you. But if you're not listening, you see, or you're thinking something, if you got something better to do, go do it.
Absolutely.
And then when you find out it wasn't that great anyway, well, then you'll come back again.
Okay.
Hey, attitude, attitude, attitude. That's all you have to do. Now, what are your attitudes about what? I mean, you know your attitudes. I mean, you may not voice them. You may make a lot of excuses for them, justifications, reasons, but we all know what that is.
Yeah.
Just avoidance.
Yeah. Absolutely.
You can't avoid it forever.
Sure can't. One.
I mean, he tells you to ask, believe, receive. Well, what are you waiting for? I did that. I was waiting. I don't know what I was waiting for. I was waiting. I was doing it diligently too, waiting. But I don't know what I was waiting for. And now I know what I was waiting for because I'm no longer waiting for it. Because I finally asked myself, well, what are you waiting for? And I couldn't answer the question. And so as long as it hung there, I had to think about it. And then I found out it's just you, stupid. And I couldn't deny it.
Yeah.
I mean, there's the facts.
Yeah.
But all you need to do is just train yourself. I mean, you train a dog, you train cats, you train everything else. Why not train yourself?
Absolutely.
Because, it's as you think you are. Then you say, well, I'm doing this because I was thinking that. Well, then stop thinking that. I know it sounds easy when we say it.
Yeah.
And I also know what I'm asking you to do, to be still. That was my nemesis for years. And that's the reason why it took me so long, is because I wasn't paying attention to the right ideas, the right thing. But when I heard it, I knew I heard something worthy of my attention. See, and I couldn't figure out exactly what, but it did interest me because it kind of stirred my attention in a different direction. And that's all you're looking for. You're looking for a new direction, but you can claim at any moment. You can claim a new direction right now. And now that we've talked, most people, when we talk like this, and they go, I'm feeling good. But someone comes along, hey, and then there you are, down the street, around the corner, over the fence, and where'd you go? And for what? See, as you think you are. Just remember that, and the rest of it will fall in place.
Absolutely. Been a pleasure, sir.
Talk to you later.
Talk to you later.
People just want to know what you did to be successful.
The 4 CDs that I have out there, it's all there. If you took any one of the CDs and actually followed through on what you understood there, you could change your mind, change your world. All you have to do is just listen to the CDs. It's always reiteration and reiteration.
I want to go back to the 4 CD set. Go to metaphysicalarttheater.com. We can only mail in the U.S. right now, but for those who are outside the U.S., we can send you a digital bundle with everything, so you'll get the enjoyment without waiting for it in the mail. Matter of fact, those who are in the U.S., if you would rather have the digital copies, we can do that as well. metaphysicalarttheater.com.